Alright, welcome back to another TouchDesigner tutorial, and today we're going to look at how to create these kind of watercolor shapes, or this watercolor effect. And we're just going to use tops and a feedback loop. And before I start, I just want to give a shout out to Paqueta12, because this is really inspired by his recent recursive displays tutorial, and without that I wouldn't have discovered how to do this. Yeah, so big thanks to him. Also, yeah, we're gonna do two different kind of projects here, or like one that's just based on this kind of noise, or you can also base it on images if you wish, or videos, something. And the other one is going to be interactive. I'm gonna show that in a second. You can like use different kind of color palettes. You can change the seed on the noise, obviously, so you have infinite amount of different artworks you can create with this. So it's really cool. It's a lot of fun to play with this, and it's quite a simple setup. So yeah, it's easy to expand and stuff like that. So I'm just going to show you the interactive one. So with the interactive one, you can just kind of like click and drag your mouse, or whatever input you want to use to kind of draw here, and really feels kind of liquid and organic. Yeah, so we're going to start with this one, and as always, I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything and build it with you together. So we're going to start with a noise, and I'm going to change the resolution to 1080 by 1080, and let's just leave that. And I'm going to change the pixel format to 32-bit float RGB, though you might want to change this down to like 16-bit float RGB, because it's not going to run super smoothly, at least not in my graphics card. The thing is, if you want to use this for a live setting or something, you might want to go down with the pixel format, or just buy a better PC, I guess. Alright, so I'm going to change the period to like 2 and the harmonics to like 10, so I have a lot of detail in there. And I'm going to change the amplitude and the offset both to 0.3. I want this to be monochrome, that's alright, and I'm already going to include the ABS time.seconds times 0.2 expression here, but I'm gonna like not use that for now. God damn it. Alright, so I'm gonna use Alt N to just put a null here, and let's now start the feedback loop. So we're gonna use a feedback top, and to be able to reset this feedback loop, I want to have a keyboard in chop. So I'm just going to drop that here and use this value on the pulse, chop reference, and now I can just press 1 and it's going to be pulsed. Alright, so just like in Paqueta12's video, we're going to use a displace here to at the end of the loop. So I'm going to change the weight on both parameters to like 0.01, and we're going to use this as the displacement. So this is the source image up here, and down here is going to be the displace image. Alright, so I'm going to actually just insert a few things here until we actually get into the feedback loop. So I'm just going to insert a level here and a null, which I'm going to call BG, and I'm going to turn the display on so we can kind of see the background. And we also, yeah, the other things I'm actually going to do later. Alright, so let's drop this onto the feedback, so we're actually creating a loop here. And now this is what you see. Already an interesting effect actually, but not what we're looking for today. Alright, so let's insert a blur here, and let's go down with the filter size to like 3, and let's go down with the sample step to like 0.4. And let's now insert two things here. The most important one is the slope. The slope top is actually it's really cool to be used in. It can really be nicely used in feedback loops. And let's also add a composite here. And let's put that here and change it the other way around. So now these are both going in the comp, and let's change that to soft light. So now we already get a very organic kind of feeling here. And now we just want to change a few things about the slope here. So on the slope, let's change the strength to like let's set it to like 8 for now, and let's change the sample step to like 5 on both. And then we pretty much already have our effect. So I'm gonna try to kind of explain what the slope is doing, but it's rather hard for me to explain that. So as you can see here, this kind of creates this color map that looks almost 3D-ish. And what this is doing, it takes the input here, and for every pixel, it calculates or it outputs a color that indicates whether if the surrounding, like if the neighboring pixels are like brighter or darker. So if we have, like, let's say we're looking at a pixel here, for example, like at the edge here. So the right pixel is gonna be like darker. So let's say this is like 0.5, and here on the right it's like 0.1, and on the left it's like 0.8 maybe, something like that. And what we have here now is a very low red, because the red looks from left to the right. So if from the left to the right the pixel gets brighter, as we see here, then it's gonna just show like a red color, like it's always displayed from the left to the right on the red channel if it gets brighter or darker. So if it's over 0.5 or below 0.5. Here we have like a low kind of channel, low red channel, and the same thing works like from bottom to top. If we look at a pixel here, for example, where it's like dark and then it gets bright, it kind of displays that as blue, or on the blue channel. I hope that kind of makes sense. So what this is just doing, it kind of creates a map of the differences between the pixel, or like kind of shows you the color, like outputs colors that represent the differences in brightness, pretty much. So then we use this color map to displace the image that's we're feeding back in here. We're blurring that image a bit, and we're just displacing that, and then we send that back here to the feedback, and then that gets used and like kind of processed or analyzed here in the slope again, and then displaced again, and we just repeat that over and over again. And this way, the whole thing kind of grows. So I hope that makes sense. It's a bit hard to explain. I can also link you this, or as always, you can click on the little question mark to learn more about the top. It's briefly explained here. Yeah, but it's not super important you actually fully understand what's happening here. I think it's more important to be able to use it. So what you can do here is change the strength. So the higher you put the number here, the stronger the effect is going to be. So you can go crazy with this and put this to like 100, but you can see it kind of gets some errors there, or like to 15, and just goes very fast. So I think 10 is like a nice value there. You can also change the sample step to something higher, and then you can see that really makes for a different feeling, and you can go with different ones for this and this one. It's also super interesting. But since we're going for watercolors in this video, let's keep it at 5. let's also look at the level here. We can now go down with the gamma a bit, so we can see the contrast a bit nicer. You can also change the displace weight a bit higher, so that also makes it stronger. Let's just change it very slightly. Generally saying, if you're working with feedback loops, only change things slightly, because the slightest change is going to have quite a huge effect. So now we could go down with the strength here. Yeah, just play around with that. Before I show you some other stuff, let's get some color in here. So I'm gonna drop a lookup in here and attach a ramp to this. And now we can just kind of start inserting colors. So the darker colors here are going to be substituted with the colors that we put here, and the brighter colors here, so like this and this part or something, they're going to be substituted with these colors that we put here, where the white is right now. So let's use, actually for the black one, let's use a white. So we have like a white background, kind of looks like paper, maybe make that a bit yellow, so it looks even more like kind of paper. And then we can make this like a kind of bright blue. Then we might want to have like a red, maybe more like a dark blue, something like this. And we could put like a yellow in here, maybe make this a bit more saturation here. This is going too fast for me, so I'm going to like change this to like 5 or like 4 even. There we go. And we can also go here and change like the seed, so we have like a different image happening. Cool, that works nicely. You can change more about this ramp. I also showed you with other ramps. I'm just going to copy and paste that in here. So here I just used a lot of colors, so if I put this in here, there's a lot more going on, so you can really go crazy with this ramp. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so just play around with that. What I'm going to show you, you can turn on this ABS time.seconds, and I think the whole thing looks a bit better then if you just do that. But yeah, you're free to choose whatever you think works best. You can change the level, and this drastically changes the colors, because it changes the way you kind of go through this gradient. You can also insert a level after this to do some post processing, to just put a bit more contrast in there maybe. And I also used the grain FX comp here that I showed in a different video. I'm gonna link in the description, so I can just put that in here and turn on these two things and just go down with the grain opacity. So now we just have a bit of noise on there. Yeah. So as you can see, this whole thing is on my machine. It's not running super smoothly. I can go down with this to like 16-bit, and then it's running very nicely. All right, but it also looks a bit different. So whatever you think fits best. All right, so that's pretty much it for the first part. Let's now just actually copy and paste this, turn these off, and let's go in here again. And now I'm going to add a circle here, because now what we want to do is make this interactive. So the thing only like this only gets drawn wherever we have the mouse. So I want to use the noises resolution, so I'm just going to copy its parameter and pass that in here, like the reference, and change the radius to 0.05 on both of them. Change the softness to like 0.02, so we have like this slight smoothing there, and then I'm going to add a composite here and put that in there. So if I press 1 again, you can see it just starts from the center now. We also want the circle to be the same pixel format, so like 32-bit float RGB. Actually, let's put this, make this RGBA, so we have some alpha in the background. Not sure if this is entirely necessary. It does feel like it does make a difference. Anyways, let's look at how to place this circle now. So kind of actually like this better if it's not moving in this case. All right. Anyways, all right. Let's put a panel here, like a panel chop, because and if I open the panel viewer now, you can see it looks at where my mouse is now. Actually pause this, and if I click, you can see the select goes to 1, and also we can see where our U and V is. So I want to use the U and V for my circle position, and the select, I want to use that so the circle is only being shown when I press my mouse. So I'm gonna use a select and just copy paste that, and just select U and V, and just select here. Let's then add a math to the first one here and rearrange this to -0.5 and 0.5, because before it was from 0 and 1, from 0 to 1, and our circle position here goes from like -0.5 to 0.5, both axes. So that's what I want to have. And on here, I'm just gonna add a null as well, and show you something there in a second. So let's use this U and V on the center, and let's use this select on the fill alpha. So now I'm gonna use this kind of color again. If I go into perform mode, I also need to obviously use this on the perform mode as the window operator, and now I can technically, I don't know why you can't see anything now. What's going on here? All right. We also need to do something else. We need to use a composite here. Change this to screen. Add a level here, and turn this down to like 0.1, the opacity, and then put that in there. And now it works. Now we can see our thing there. And actually, I kind of liked these other colors. I'm just gonna copy and paste them. 1 second. And you can just make some yourself. So yeah, now I can just draw where the mouse is. And I might wanna go up with the gamma here a bit, and yeah. Also, I want to insert something here, because if we just have a look at the pane panel, whatever, as soon as I release the mouse, it goes back to 0, so we can't see the circle anymore. And like usually, like with actual watercolors, there's always this kind of fade out, you could say, for lack of a better word. So we're going to use a lag to kind of recreate that. So I'm just going to insert a lag here and delete the first one, because we don't want to have an input lag. We just want to kind of fade it out, let it fade out. So we can like change this to 0.7 now. And now let's actually just look at the panel here again. So if I click somewhere, you can see then it slowly goes down to 0. So that way we can better, like more easily see our circle. We might also want to change the sample step or strength here. We might want to change the filter size to something higher on the blur. Also, I would recommend going to noise and maybe go down with the period and changing the harmonics to like 3, and maybe make this a bit stronger, so you really kind of see these chunks. I think that looks pretty nice. Yeah, but feel free to play around with the parameters to kind of find whatever you think is right. I might want to go up with the sample step a bit. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. Now we can change the colors here. And to make this even more like kind of organic, let's add a noise chop. Change this to time slice, change the period to like 3, the amplitude and offset both to 0.5, so we have an output of 0 to 1. Let's use a math. Remap this from 0 to 1 to like 0.3 and 0.7. I don't know. And use this on a lag, so we don't always have the same lag, but the lag is kind of like changing. So when we press our mouse, we have different sort of lengths. Is that, I don't know, lengths? I guess that's the word. How long this is kind of like staying in there. That makes sense. It's always nice to insert more noise everywhere. All right. Actually, let's go down with the displays, and yeah, I like that more. It's not as intense. A slower movement. Yeah, I think that's about it. Here you can also change this back to be on. And you can insert all kinds of stuff inside of the feedback loop. As I said, change the slope, change the displays, change the post processing. Yeah, feel free to just use images as well as an input. Feel free to really experiment with RAMs. It's great to just kind of get the feeling for RAMs, because it's so nice to like make cool colors and color gradients. Get the hang out of the on the slope, because yeah, that's a really cool thing. Like it's a super nice top. And one last thing, little trick to make some different visuals is to just use the edge, maybe without the lookup first. Yeah, to get this kind of effect, you can also comp over input, maybe with the lookup, and then you have the edges really like, yeah, they're kind of like sticking out. So that's also cool. Yeah, as always, I'm going to post a file on Patreon, so if you want to support me there, if you want to have access to the files, I'm gonna link it in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.